You are standing in your kitchen looking over at your pothos for what feels like the 100th time this month. The vines are still hanging from the shelf, but they haven't grown much. The newest leaves are smaller than the older ones, and that rich, deep green has slowly turned into a pale shade that doesn't look quite as healthy. You water it when the soil feels dry. You keep it near a bright window. You even bought an expensive bottle of plant food because the label promised faster growth and bigger leaves. For a little while, you expected to see a difference. But weeks passed, and your pothos still looked tired. You begin to wonder if you're simply not very good with houseplants. Here's what almost nobody tells you. A pothos doesn't usually stop growing because it suddenly needs more fertilizer. Most of the time, the problem begins quietly inside the plant itself. After months of watering and growing, the soil can slowly lose important minerals, especially magnesium. And without enough magnesium, the plant struggles to make chlorophyll, the green pigment that captures sunlight and turns it into energy. By the time the leaves begin looking pale or the vines stop growing, that shortage may have been building for months. The answer isn't pouring stronger fertilizers into the pot after the problem appears. Sometimes the answer is simply giving the plant back one of the minerals it has quietly been missing all along. I'm Mary Yoder, and here in Lancaster County, we still care for our homes and gardens the old-fashioned way. The women who taught me believed that healthy plants didn't come from expensive bottles sitting on a store shelf. They came from understanding what a plant truly needed and giving it just enough at just the right time. They believed that simple habits prevented most problems before they ever became expensive ones. And one little powder was almost always close at hand whenever a favorite houseplant began looking a little tired. That powder is plain Epsom salt. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive, just ordinary Epsom salt, the same mineral many families have kept in their homes for generations. Before I show you how to use it, let me say this. If you enjoy old-fashioned household wisdom that helps you grow healthier plants while spending less money, I've gathered many more forgotten methods like this together. But first, let me show you exactly why this simple powder has earned such a lasting place in so many gardens. The secret isn't that Epsom salt feeds the plant like a traditional fertilizer. In fact, it isn't a fertilizer at all. What it provides is magnesium and sulfur, two minerals that plants need in surprisingly small amounts, but use every single day. Magnesium sits right at the center of every chlorophyll molecule. Without enough of it, leaves can't capture sunlight as efficiently. And when that happens, the plant produces less energy for growing new vines and healthy leaves. Sulfur plays a quieter role, helping the plant build proteins and enzymes that support steady, healthy growth. Together, these two minerals help the plant use the nutrients already present in the soil much more effectively. Think of it like trying to bake bread. You might have plenty of flour, plenty of water, and plenty of yeast. But if you forget one important ingredient, the bread never turns out the way it should. Plants work much the same way. Sometimes they already have most of what they need. They're simply missing one small piece that allows everything else to work together. Here's exactly how to use it. Fill a gallon container with water. That's about 4 liters if you're using a watering can. Add 1 tablespoon of plain Epsom salt and stir until every crystal has completely dissolved. Don't leave grains sitting at the bottom. You want the minerals spread evenly throughout the water. Once it's fully mixed, use this solution in place of one regular watering. Water the soil slowly until you see a little moisture beginning to drain from the bottom of the pot. Don't pour it over the leaves. Let the roots do the work. Then return to your normal watering routine. Here's the important part that many people get wrong. Use this mixture only once every 4 to 6 weeks. More is not better. Plants need balance. Too much magnesium can actually interfere with the plant's ability to absorb other important nutrients. The old gardeners understood something we've almost forgotten today. The best care is rarely the most aggressive care. Gentle, steady attention almost always produces healthier plants than constantly trying to force faster growth. Think about seasoning a pot of soup. One small spoonful of salt brings every flavor together. Dump the whole container into the pot and you've ruined dinner. Epsom salt works very much the same way. The right amount helps the plant. Too much creates a different problem altogether. While you're helping your pothos from the inside, let me give you another little habit that works beautifully alongside this one. Every couple of weeks, wipe the leaves with a soft damp cloth. Dust settles so gradually that most people never notice it, but each layer blocks a little more sunlight. Less sunlight means less energy, and less energy means fewer new leaves. Cleaning the leaves is much like washing a dirty window. The sun hasn't become brighter. You've simply removed what was standing between the light and your home. The same thing happens with your pothos. Clean leaves gather more light, produce more energy, and reward you with stronger, healthier growth. Small habits like these make all the difference. A balanced watering schedule, bright, indirect light, clean leaves, one gentle feeding with Epsom salt every month or so. None of these things costs very much. Together, they create the kind of environment where a pothos naturally wants to grow. Now, let me tell you something the gardening industry doesn't often emphasize. Walk into almost any garden center and you'll see shelves lined with miracle fertilizers, growth boosters, leaf enhancers, root stimulators, and expensive plant foods, each one promising bigger leaves and faster vines than the last. Most of those products are marketed for the day your plant already looks unhealthy. There isn't much money in teaching people how to keep a plant healthy enough that it rarely needs rescuing in the first place. That isn't some grand conspiracy. Nobody is secretly hiding this from you. It's simply the way businesses work. Emergency solutions are easier to sell than quiet prevention. The old Amish families couldn't solve every problem by buying another bottle. They learned to understand the plants they cared for. They noticed small changes before they became large problems. They corrected little deficiencies before they turned into struggling vines and yellow leaves. That simple philosophy saved time, saved money, and kept their homes filled with healthy plants year after year. So here's what I'd ask you to do. Mix 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt into a gallon of water the next time your pothos is due for watering. Then come back in a few weeks and tell me what happened. I'd love to hear whether you noticed greener leaves, longer vines, or fresh new growth. Tell me what state you're watching from, how old your pothos is, and whether it's growing in soil or water. I read every comment because every family seems to have its own little gardening wisdom that's worth passing along. And next time, I'll show you another forgotten Amish plant trick, using one simple pantry ingredient that helps peace lilies produce stronger roots and healthier blooms without spending a fortune at the garden center. Until then, remember this. The healthiest plants are rarely the ones receiving the most expensive products. They're usually the ones receiving the smallest, most faithful care, one simple habit at a time.